ain't get no countdown or nothing like that. None of that. Man, they don't show you no kind of respect around
No,
here,
that
man.
was respect, because the belief is you already were ready.
I was ready.
You were
ready.
ready. You
Just
don't
on
need a
IG,
countdown. That's what
yeah,
normal, lower
you know,
people,
I didn't
non-professionals need. You just ready.
I ain't getting no count. None of this. None of this. All right, this is where I'm supposed to say, loved by many, hated by few, respected by all, second to none. I'm feeling in my feelings now. Too.
It's okay. Definitely respected by all. That's why there was
by
no
many,
need for a
hated
count.
by-
Countdowns are needed for people who don't know what they're doing.
Well, we know what we're doing. But most of all, I want to thank Taylor for sitting in with us as well. I'm just messing with you, Taylor. Just messing with you, Taylor. You're doing a good job for us, so I appreciate it. So we got, let's see, how many we got? Let's see. Is this in the way here? That's out the way. There is another chair that's in the way. I need a clean background here. Look at that. Clean background. There we go. Okay, I think we got it out the way now. So as long as we getting things out the way, we need to make sure that we have everything in order as well. There we go. We got it out of the way. So in your courtroom, you like things to be in order, right?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
So let's move the mic closer to you. You've been here on the show before.
I have.
You've been on the show. We've been knowing each other for so long.
A long time.
Before you became a judge and
Yes,
before I became
yes.
Dr. Gray.
Yes.
We
We
go
have some
back.
history.
We got some history. So this deal that we're talking about today, and you guys can rewind and look us up on the other shows and everything, but what we're going to be talking about today is domestic violence. And I want to go ahead and say that how proud I am of you in your story. Without, you can't have no glory unless there's a story.
That's true.
Can't have no glory unless
That's
there's a
true.
story. And sometimes stories do not need to be hidden. And this is a story that I think a lot of people need to hear. Domestic violence is something that a brother told me earlier today. He said, man, what's the show going to be about today? I said, domestic violence. He said, whoa. He started backing up. I was like, what are you backing up for? I said, 53% of the people who listen to my show are women. He said, oh, you got to do this for the women. I said, no, I got to do this for everybody.
Right.
Man.
Right.
Because if we're talking about domestic violence and involving a man and a woman, 50% of the people in it are going to be men, so they need to hear about the story.
Yes.
Because women are not in this alone. And this deal about domestic violence is a story that afflicts a lot of people from all ranges of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So tell us about your deal, man.
Well, you know what? If it weren't for the fact that even though, I didn't do a lot of talking in public because I went to court. I filed my divorce petition. I had all my evidence presented in court with the bruises that I had, the injuries to my home, text messages, all the things that he did, the harassment he did to people who were surrounded by me.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
He harassed people around you?
Yes. Yes.
Is he in jail now?
He's not in jail. There's an update.
Because I'm around you now.
Well, now you know what's funny
But
is,
I ain't scared.
and what's funny
But
is,
this is the whole point, though.
yes, and a lot of women, including me, didn't say anything about what was going on because I'm
Because of
surrounded
that.
by people who would happily go to jail to keep me protected. And when it comes to you going to jail versus me keeping quiet, I don't want anyone that I love and support to have to suffer because of what someone's doing to me. Let me take it to when parents tell their kids, if someone hurts you, you tell me because I'll happily go to jail if
Right.
someone hurts you.
Right.
Well, the kids aren't going to say that because they don't want their parents to go to jail. The same thing with my brothers, with my male friends. I didn't say anything until I actually made the decision to file for divorce and be free. Then I let everybody know what was going on. And my brothers, even my ex-husband, my son's father, he was like, you know what? I could have made him disappear. They would have never found the body. Because, even though we're not married, we still are family through our son.
Right.
And even I knew I couldn't tell him what's going on. But once it was over and I filed and let everybody know in my circle what was going on, then I had people showing up. I never missed a week at the range. I am not the same person now.
Never missed a week at the range.
Now,
Let's put this mic level
I've
up a
never
little bit.
missed a week because even though I have a divorce decree that says he cannot contact me, he cannot harass me, he cannot contact anyone else who's around me, the divorce decree, just like a restraining order, even as a judge, I say it's just a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper.
Because, and I saw some stuff online, because I'm online all the time, and I saw where he had put some stuff online that was threatening, and I'm going like, man, don't this dude know this is a judge? I wouldn't cut a judge off in a lane of traffic, let alone try to hurt her.
I think though because where I was when the marriage ended, I was like this. I had myself, because of all the things that I had gone through, years of him get into my head telling me I was ugly, that I was stupid, that I was dumb. And mind you, I have 2 degrees.
Right.
And a law license, and had run for judge and had all these accomplishments prior to knowing him. When you love someone and you let them in, and it's something that happens, and I never thought that this would happen to me, to where it was just like my faith in myself was shaken. I was like a shell of who I was before, and definitely who I am now. So I think he continued to harass me this last year, where I have papers saying that he can't, because I'm assuming he expected that I was that same scared victim who was not going to do anything. But he found out real quick when I reported all that, and he got a warrant for his arrest and had to be arrested. So charges have been filed, and I plan to go to court, and we're going to prosecute, because I'm not the first one. And unfortunately, when you fall in love with someone, you see things through rose-colored glasses. The stories that they tell you, you believe. And even me as a lawyer and a judge and a prosecutor, he told me that he had been the victim, he had to plead guilty to a charge because some woman was mad that he was breaking up with her. Well, after I started experiencing violence and harassment and disrespect, and a man putting his hands up to punch me and to disrespect me by pulling his pants down in my face and putting his butt in my face to lower me, I started doing some research, and my lawyers really helped a lot. And I learned that the case that he said was some woman trying to get back at him was actually him being convicted of a felony assaulting another woman. Now, he told me this, but because I loved him, I believed his story. Y'all, get people around you who are going to protect you from yourself. I've told my circle, including Cheryl over there, if y'all see me acting a fool, please, if y'all think that I'm falling in love again with someone who is toxic, because people knew there were signs, and they're coming and telling me now, I trust you enough to know that you're not going to say anything that is going to hurt me. You're going to say things out of love for me. But he also told me stories about women who tried to get peace orders against him. Now, you got a felony conviction for assaulting a woman. You have another woman trying to get a peace bond against you, another woman calling the police on you, but the same story was, it was never him. He was always the victim. It was these other women. And here I am as his biggest champion, believing that he was the victim. But then I've learned since then, because he tried to do the same things to me, saying that he was the victim and I was the perpetrator. And you can tell who's telling the true story, because as you said, you saw him harassing me online.
Yeah, I saw it, and
Tell
I saw it, and it went on and on and on. And what I was also shocked about was that people have supporters,
Yes.
and supporters edge you on. I mean,
Yes.
they do. Lee Harvey Oswald's mother
Right.
loved him until the day she died.
Right.
So and he killed the president.
Yes.
So this is the deal here, is that went on, and he sent that to you.
Yes,
and
he did it.
He sent it to us because
He sent it
to everybody.
to Dallas County Democrats. He tried to send it to the courts.
He sent it to Dallas County Democrats.
Yes, he sent it to. All these people. I don't look
Well,
at
how did you feel when you went to work when you saw all that?
Well, the people at work already knew what was going
I know,
on.
but how did you feel though? I mean, they knew, but how did you feel? I mean, as a person, how did you feel?
Well, by that time, I wasn't bothered by it, because except for the fact that he started sending stuff directly to me, not the stuff that he was putting out publicly, but the stuff that he was sending out
That
to
was
me
more
directly.
scary.
Yes, and that's when I went ahead and let the police know. I had a breakdown at choir rehearsal with the women's choir and told them what was going on. And they all surrounded me, because I told them, I said, my lawyers told me I needed to come file this police report, because if he does what he's saying he's doing, then I already let my neighbors know, if you hear gunshots, wait 5 minutes before you call the police, because he's going to bleed out, because we're not going back to where he had me before. We are not going back. I am not that same person. So I had to let my neighbors know. I had to let my bailiffs, all the security officers, have his picture at the courthouse. The clerks, the attorneys, the district attorneys, they all know what's going on. I didn't have to go talk publicly. I handle my stuff privately to make sure that I have everything in place.
But you're a public person. There's nothing private about a public person.
That's true. That's true. But that part where I was moving to protect myself in silence, because that's what I needed to do until he was arrested. So, and unfortunately, my poor child, Oliver, my son, another reason that I decided to come forward, because I'm trying to keep my son out of jail, because my son is still my sweet boy is hoping to run up on this man because of what he did to me. And I am trying to keep him out of jail because of the way he talks about what he wants to do to this man.
Now, let's talk about this. Now, I know that's very painful as well, and Oliver's holding up real well now. And what we want you to do is make sure that you're okay with this, for you to be able to continue on with this. Now, you're a brave person, and right now, what we are going to do is we're going to take a break. Let's do a break page right quick, and when we come back, we will resume this interview, okay? All right, let's do a break page, and let's play some of our music, okay? All right. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Put some more music on other than that. Put some more music other than that. Take that music off. Put some other music on. All right, there we go.
Thank you.
Put some soft music on. All right, there we go. All right, so let's go. Okay. All right, so you got the, you have it back on now. All right, let's go back. Okay. All right. Don't start. Okay, we back live now. All right. Okay. We back again. Okay. We live? All right. Okay. Mike? Okay, we're back again. All right, got the page breakdown?
Yes, sir.
We breaking it down. It's like what you were saying earlier. We don't need no countdown because we're about to break it down. How's Oliver doing?
Oliver is, he, because of what he saw me experience, he rarely leaves my side, which means it's hard for me to convince him to go spend time at his dad's house. And, me and his dad talk about it. His dad is upset, why isn't Oliver coming? Is there something wrong? And I'm like, I just think he's afraid to leave me because every time something happens with the ex, I have to let him know. And so Oliver's always on alert. He makes sure that we have all the extra locks around the house. He goes and he checks the perimeter of the house to make sure that all the lights, because I have motion censored lights, I have cameras. He's installed extra cameras around the perimeter to make sure that the house is safe. I have a permit to carry. And there was an incident where I think I told you about it. I was at Cedar Hill movie theater watching movies, and we had an incident where we were locked inside. And so I called Oliver to tell him, I love you, just in case something happened, the last words. Instead of listening to that, he's fussing at me. Where's your gun? Why don't you have your gun? I told you to take your gun with you everywhere you go. What good is your gun going to do if it in the car versus at the, So that's what he is. He is hyper protective of me. And that's not fair to him because he's 20. He shouldn't have have.
Most sons are hyper protective of their mothers. That's the reason why a lot of people gotten into fights when we were kids. We talk about somebody's mama, that'll do it. So so that's don't fault him on that. He get that now. That's a black thing, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So a black man, black boy thing, but it's all the way thing. So that's good. You are a very brave person. Period. A brave person. Period. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I have loved ones too that if I was to see them too, I would feel the same way too, So it's like it's a lot of prayers and kept a lot of people out of jail.
True.
Okay.
True.
So
true,
when you was just breaking it down like that, that was just real. So you have nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be. That was it. That was it. That was it. So you have all of this going on for you as a woman that's well respected in the community. How and why?
Well, how is because I just wanted to be in love. I just wanted love. And because I had relationships that weren't successful, I decided to be completely open and accept a person for who they said they were. Usually I would do background checks, I would do a whole lot more checking, but this time he came around at a point where I was just going to be completely open. And I made a list of things that I was looking for. Now, the problem though is I told him what was on the list. So then he was able to figure out what I wanted because I told him what I wanted, and then he became those things. So even before we were married,
how long have y'all been dating?
We were dating, we started dating in January. We were engaged by April, and we were married by November. He had moved into my home in April. So by that time, it was pretty much done. And because I was at that point, he was everything I wanted because he was doing all the things that I enjoy doing. Like now, like things like I like to be in nature. I liked going out for just walks and just experiencing nature.
And I see you at your house, you have all kinds of, you have.
I have chickens and I have my garden, and he enjoyed being outside with me until.
Chickens?
I have 4 chickens. I had 5, but this one right here ate one of them.
You have a dog that ate one of the chickens?
She ate one of the chickens. Dogs, they love.
Let me ask you this. I mean, not off the topic.
Mm-hmm.
You have any eggs? Because I went to the store the other day and there wasn't no eggs, and there's a shortage of eggs going on right now.
That's why I got them, and they should start. they should start laying at 20 weeks. So I have about another month.
Okay.
And then I have another group that are coming in April, 5 more, because they lay about 1 a day. So with 4, I should have 4 eggs a day. But me and Oliver, he eats 4 at a time. I sometimes eat 3 or 4. And
Oliver
we eat
eats 4 eggs at a time?
if I have bacon with it and the other sides. Now
Oliver's
this
a big
evening
guy.
for dinner, he wanted 8 eggs.
Okay.
So we go through a lot. We go through 60 eggs a week because we eat eggs all day.
Well, there's an egg shortage going on right now. So you have all this. This brings you peace.
It does.
And you had someone come into your home now that interrupted your peace.
He interrupted my peace. You know, this is a house that I'd lived in for years that I was paying a mortgage on. He came in and pretended to be someone who was just coming to add to me. But that was to get for him to get me. Once he was there, then all of a sudden he didn't like the art that was on my walls, and it became a fight. And he started doing things to me where I would say, you know, you're acting like Oliver acted when he was 2. He would throw tantrums and throw furniture and, like I said, punch holes in walls. I have this gigantic massage chair that was the first thing I purchased as a lawyer. Those big ones that they're like $5,000.
Has sentimental value.
Yes. Well, I didn't realize that he had gone through all of my social media prior to, you know, targeting me as someone he wanted it. He went back through all my social media and saw that I had friends who were male friends when I got the chair in like 2016, came over to celebrate and sat in the chair. Now, mind you, me and this man weren't together until 2018, 3 years later. He was fine with everything until I said I do. Then all of a sudden, the chair was an enemy, and so he started beating up my $5,000 chair, throwing it around, and to the point where I had to get rid of the chair. My friend Alice, my associate judge Alice Rodriguez, she agreed to keep the chair at her house because I wasn't going to get rid of the $5,000 chair, but I kept doing things like that to keep the peace. So you have the chair back now? I do have the chair back now, and I enjoy relaxing on it, enjoying my peace with my chair back.
All right, now we want people that are listening in right now. This is conversational. We want people that are listening in right now. We're going to 6 o'clock. We have 6 o'clock, right? So we are going to go to 6 o'clock. And if there are any questions, if you have, just, you know, put them in the chat. We just want to be conversational about this as well. And my heart really goes out to you. You know, and people always say my heart and prayers go out to you. And it's nice and everything. And we hear that all the time. And that lifts us up. But, you know, it's always good to have friends that you can count on for that, you know. Your domestic abusers, they try to break you away from your friends.
Yes. He tried very hard. But my friend Alice Rodriguez, who's my associate judge, and my friend Tamika, they're the ones who knew what was going on. They've told me since that they knew. And my friend Tamika actually told me that when we got married Thanksgiving, 2018. Okay. We came back and had a party in December. By January, he was complaining about friends that I had on Facebook from before, years and decades before I met him. So I was blocking people. I was doing everything to try to make him happy because he was saying, you know, you're like the other ones who cheated on me and lied to me and all those. So, you know, I'm trying to show him that I loved him. I gave him the password to my phone, put his fingerprint on it, to all my social media. But to keep me on edge and to beat me down, he's like, well, you might be talking to somebody at your job. You know, all these things to keep me off balance, to keep me tap dancing, to try to make him happy. So by January, it was a mess. And that's when it looked like we were going to separate the first time. And I called a minister and, you know, he prayed with me. And at that point, I wasn't as beat down. So I was ready to move on. I told one of my friends, and, you know, we talked about separating the bank accounts and, you know, moving him out. He was driving my second car because he drove a Corvette that was from 2008 that had a whole lot of issues, but for him that was part of his ego boost. He had to drive the Corvette even though it was a Corvette. It was a Corvette.
That's what it is.
So he was driving my second car, and, you know, he was treating my second car like he was treating me, beating it up, running out of gas, being stuck on the side of the road. And it was always my fault. I couldn't do enough to please him. And because of my person, I'm a giving person. I love giving gifts to people. I love giving to all that I have to make people around me comfortable and happy. I want to keep that peacefulness around me. And for him, I think he recognized that he could keep taking and taking, and I was going to keep giving. And eventually, when you give so much, you have nothing left
to give.
And people started talking about they could look like people who were closest to me could look at pictures. And I go back and look at pictures between 2018 and 2022. And they would say they could tell that my smile wasn't different. That normally when I smile, it comes all the way through my face and through my eyes. They said they could look at my smile and see that there was nothing there. And I go back and I'm like, wow, they're right. I thought I was hiding it because I didn't want to have a failed marriage, and because he told me that I couldn't get anyone else because I was ugly, because I was dumb, that I wasn't be able to do anything without him. I started believing that. And I'm so glad about my friends, because when I was ready to end the relationship, when I was making those baby steps, they didn't say, okay, file your divorce, do this. They let me come to the decision to go through what I had to go through. And it was ugly, because I would go to work and I'd be in my chambers breaking down, crying. Tamika would be shaking me when I'm like, I'm ugly. I'm not going to find anybody. He's right. And she would shake me. She said, you're not ugly. Who's ugly? Not you. Andrea, do you know who you are? I can't wait until you recognize who you are so that you're ready to fight. And she would say that to me every day. I would get on the bench, do my job. My bailiff knew what was going on. She would keep her eyes trained on me. And if she saw, it's like she could sense if I needed to have some type of distraction so that I would be able to get off the bench and go back to my chambers. There were attorneys who were ministers, a judge who was a minister who would come and pray with me. I had so much support. My pastor, I would send him the text messages that my ex would send to me early in the morning, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And my pastor was like, he's just trying to keep you off balance. He's trying to stay in your mind. Block all of that. And I had to finally block all of that. So even
How did you block it?
I blocked him on my phone.
That's one way to go about it.
I blocked him on my phone. I didn't block him on social media because I wanted to make sure if he started doing anything that I would have access to that. But I blocked him on my phone. So when he couldn't reach me, then he started reaching out to friends. He was this same person that I talked about that was on my chair celebrating in 2016. He found him on Instagram and was talking to him on Instagram, talking about, oh, you can have Judge Martin, put her back in your rotation. Now, mind you, I had blocked this guy. I haven't spoken to him since 2017. And so that was embarrassing to me that he was texting and sending messages to people I hadn't spoken to. And then he would screenshot it and send it to me. So
now, the part that is disturbing about this, it seems like that's a calculated campaign all the way through and through. And it was endless. You said 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So you wake up in the morning time, and then that's what you saw,
Yes.
and then you had to go to work.
Yes.
And then you went to work, and then that's when. What do you do for? I know, but for the audience at home, we want everyone to share this. Please share this. This is very serious. Share it, and a lot of people wouldn't be as transparent. Transparent for real transparent. We often say I'm transparent, but we're always transparent about something we really don't care about anybody else knowing. You went through a lot of pain in this.
I did, but you know what? And like I said, I was embarrassed to talk about it for a long time.
So why now?
Why now is because he started. If he had left me alone, I would have let him continue. People would come to tell me that he would see them out in public and would start coming up to them and talking to them about me, people who were connected to me. And, they would be like, they would just ignore him until he walked away. But he was still wanting to try to destroy me, I guess because he realized he didn't. And I let him do everything he wanted to do. have whatever tantrum, say whatever he wanted to say about me because it didn't bother me. Because I'm over here having my peace, living my best life. But I guess that wasn't good enough. He had to still try to come at me. And so this started in December of last year, where he started sending me messages on social media, sending me messages on email, and I would, of course, send it to my attorneys. Now, mind you, my attorneys were ready to go back to court a long time ago. They were ready to lock him up a long time ago. But I said, you know what? Unless he starts escalating, let him do what he wants to do. It's not going to bother me. My attorneys, everything that he sent to me, social media, sent to me by email, I would send it right to them. And by the summer, when it started escalating,
that was the summer that I saw it.
Yes, he started. Now, he was saying things publicly about me, but in private, he was talking about all the things that he wanted me to do to him and what he wanted to do to me. Now, publicly, I'm the one that's out here making up stories about him. I'm the one that's toxic and all this. But privately, he's still trying to, try to throw his hook out and see if he could reel me back in. So I think for him, it was an ego thing because none of that bothered me. I'm over here with my chickens having a great time. So the reason I started talking and telling my story is because, now, I will say that even though I didn't say anything publicly, this has helped me become a better judge. And so I would tell the people who came before me.
You're a family judge, right?
I'm a family judge. I hear juvenile cases. I hear child welfare cases where people's children are removed because of abuse or neglect, and a lot of it is domestic abuse. And so I would talk to a lot of women and men, because men are victims too.
Right, that's what I said in my opening statement, right.
And I would tell them, I understand that you are not ready to leave this relationship. And I would tell them about how, for me, healing was a long, ugly process. And I would tell them, I understand what you're going through. I understand that it's hard to break that trauma bond. And that's what I learned through therapy, trauma bond.
So you've been in therapy?
Oh, yes. I had to go because...
Now, they say black people don't like therapy. What's up with that? I mean, is it necessary?
I think it was necessary for me to heal, because going through this process, I have never dealt with anyone who has been as toxic as this. We all have relationships that end, and you end and you go forward. I have never had something so toxic in my life to where I was so empty and broken when it was over that I had to build myself back up. And so I needed help for that. I recognized that I was at this point and I didn't want to stay here, and I didn't want to continue in the behaviors and the patterns that made me susceptible to someone like him. I wanted to do better for me. I wanted to do better for my son, because, my son watched what I went through, and he
was there?
He was there.
He saw all of that?
He didn't see a lot of it because, and it's funny, my ex told me, probably 2 years in, because at first they had a good relationship, and then all of a sudden he noticed that Oliver wouldn't talk to him. Mm-hmm. When he would come home, Oliver, me and Oliver would be sitting on the couch like you and I right here, having a great time, watching TV, having conversations, and as soon as he would hear the garage door open, Oliver would get up and go to his room. And I didn't really think about it, because I was I was still off balance, trying to make sure, I didn't know what I was going to get when coming home, because he would be on my social media. If he saw me smiling at someone, I'm a politician.
Smile.
I'm supposed to smile. He would come home, what are you smiling so big for? Can't nothing be that funny. It was always something, so I never knew what to expect. So I was always in protect mode, always in the mode to try to keep my son protected and keep me protected. So I didn't pay attention to the fact that Oliver was separating himself. And the ex said to me, O doesn't talk to me anymore. O doesn't want to come hang out with me anymore. And I'm like, well, he's a teenager. Since then, I've learned, just like Ellery.
That's Ellery over there. Is it?
Ellery, come here.
Okay.
Since then, I've learned.
Let me ask you something about Ellery. Is Ellery a support dog?
She is.
She is?
She is.
Tell me, how'd you get Ellery?
Okay, so part of my healing was I had to go to a therapist. Mm-hmm. I had a psychiatrist, because I was so messed up. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I don't know if y'all saw me back then. I had lost so much weight.
I did see you.
I'd lost so much weight.
And that's when I thought something was wrong. I thought, you were sick, But, that's what it is. I
Yes.
was like, say,
Yes.
what's going on?
And then I was still trying to internalize what was going on and that this has happened to me. And I have accomplished all these things. And I did not want to say, okay, I was a victim. Because to me, that meant that I was in somehow weak.
Failure.
I failed.
Right.
And that I had done something to deserve this. And my therapist had to work really hard on me to recognize I didn't do anything to deserve anything that this man did to me. She would say to me, you have to give yourself grace. And she said, because you're a politician, it's even harder for you because you have to go out there and show this face. But in private, she said, you need to take time on the weekends. And I did this. I thought it was silly at first, but it worked. She said, on the weekends, you need to sit down and sit in what you are going through.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of times when we're going through breakups, we want to fix it by, the people say the best way to get over another
person.
Right. And that's just putting a Band-Aid on. That's not true healing. So she said I needed to sit at my house and sit in my feelings, whether it was anger, whether it was pain, and I was screaming, if I was cursing, if I was crying, if I was collapsing. And I had to keep going through that. And eventually I noticed that I wasn't crying as much. I was starting to smile again. I was, putting candles through my house. I started buying plants. I had enjoyed plants and all these things.
Candles.
Lighting candles,
That's
having
tasty.
plants, things that I couldn't have in my own house because
What, he didn't want you to have?
He didn't want. Even the way I used to decorate for Christmas. People who've known me for years can go back and look at prior to 2018 how my whole house would be lit up for Christmas.
You have your house for lit up for Christmas
I've
now?
gone back to lighting up my house.
You started decorating.
I started decorating my house,
Okay.
And I actually have a gift for her birthday. It's over there. I'm
You
gonna
keep
tell you
pointing
what
over
it
there.
is. That's
You
Cheryl Gillespie.
They can't see you waving over there, so you might as well come into the camera then.
But even part of Christmas, like I said, I'm a giver, and I love randomly giving gifts to my friends.
Can you make sure she's all in here?
Giving gifts to my friends, and this year I'm giving the gift of Christmas. So something that I've gotten for her birthday is a beautiful mini Christmas tree, so that way you can decorate your house and have something for me. But these things that I enjoyed, these things that were me, were beaten out of me, were taken away from me by the consistent dehumanization, the consistent disrespect. I remember one time going to church, and my pastor was really good about checking on me, making sure that I was okay, praying for me, telling me that if I died from all this, he was going to kill me, trying to, make jokes about this because it was ugly. The healing was ugly. And so therapy for me was so important. But one day he saw me at church, and he noticed the difference in my walk. He said, Andrea, you seem to have gotten your pep back in your step. And I said, yes, I'm turning the corner. And part of the way he was trying to continue to hurt me was when we separated in August, he threatened he was going to file for divorce all the time. And that was part to hurt me because even though I knew it was broken, I told him I was willing to continue to try to work it out if he got some help for, he has substance abuse issues. He has issues with a lot of vulgar things that he has addictions to. I said, if you get some help for that, I'm willing to go to therapy with you to get some help so we can work our marriage out. But he doesn't believe he has a problem.
All right.
And that's the thing. If people, you have to meet people where they are and accept them for who they are. He thinks he's fine. He has done this to several women, and I recognize that now, that the stories he told me about what was done to him was really what he was doing to other women because he did it to me. So I had to take my healing, take ownership of it, sit through it, work through it, heal through it. And the best thing I did was when I made the decision to file for divorce. Now, I was mad about it because I didn't want to have to pay the money. At that point, I was like, when is he going to file? Come on and file. And by October, when he didn't file, I filed for the divorce. And then he started running from the process. So I had to pay extra for a process server to catch him. But when I had my divorce trial, I smiled so hard that my cheeks hurt for days. because it was the culmination of my healing. And healing is still something that's continuing.
Okay.
Me talking about this is part of my
part
healing.
of the healing.
It's
And
part of my healing.
We're going to take a break right quick, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about the healing process. And we have some people who are listening in right now and tuning in right now. And one of the questions will say, "Are you okay?" Okay, let's take a couple of breaks and play some drops, and we'll be right back.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Gail Todd with Townview Realtors. If you find yourself in the market to buy, sell, lease, or maybe you want to be a part of this hot real estate market by investing, just give my team of professionals and I a call at 214-675-9572. At that's 214-675-9572. Or you can email me at gtodd88@yahoo.com. With me, it's all about you.
Hey, you know, whenever I want good Cajun food, I go to Thibodeau's, located at 107 North Cedar Ridge in Duncanville, Texas. They're really hot, just like the Commish Radio Show in Thibodeau's. Hot as this gumbo. We will see you later at Thibodeau's.
Hello out there. My name is Byron Williams, former NFL player. I'm with the NFL Players Association, and when I'm not in the community, I'm listening to Mr. Ed Gray, the commish.
Men, you've been spending countless hours on YouTube searching for encouragement and empowerment. I want to give you the tool that you need today. It's InTheHuddleOnDemand.com. Go to InTheHuddleOnDemand.com today for the encouragement and empowerment that you've been searching for. You'll get a behind-the-scenes look of what's been going on with In the Huddle with Chris Howell. Go and check it out today.
You know. All right, we got it. We just want to go back live and everything. You know, you know how much I'm a perfectionist about how things look. For you folks that are listening and looking at us back home, and I am looking at Gina Winter, yep, and Bobby Mitchell's looking, and I know you have some people that were listening. What happened to all your social media stuff?
I took it down when I started crying.
You took it down when you started crying?
I did. I took it down when I started crying.
Okay. Well, they saw it now.
Yeah.
They saw it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I didn't mean to make you cry about that. I was just sitting right next to you.
I know.
But, you know, you're a dear friend of mine, and I just recalled, I've only had one interaction with your ex, and that was at the African American Museum, and he said he knew who I was and everything. I said, well, good. You know, a lot of people know who I am. So, not being flippant or anything like that, but now that you told me what you said, it has new meaning to me that he knew who I was. So, you know, that being said, that's what it is, you know. But I ain't never scared, so I ain't worried about that. The support animal, Ellery, you know, and when Cheryl told me Ellery was, I didn't know Ellery's name, you know. She said a dog was going to be coming. I said, well, it must be a support animal. So that is one of the things that that really brightens my day when I see people who have support animals. My support is my mouth. And I have a big mouth, and some people support animals are totally necessary and totally needed, and it's very helpful.
She was very helpful because when you are so broken down and building yourself up, and especially in my position where I just couldn't, I mean, I may have been able to do it, But at that point, I didn't feel that there was something I could really talk about. And especially when you look at instances, even in the public space where women are victims and they come and tell their story. Like Cassie had been telling the story of everything that happened with her, but nobody believed it until they saw the video. You know, everybody believes that you're vindictive, you're angry, you're trying to bring somebody down, which is why I kept my mouth shut. No matter what he said, and my attorneys, they watch, and the investigators, they watch what he does, and they come and report it to me, and they would want to take action. I never said anything because I didn't want to be perceived as someone who was bitter, because I did send him a video after we had separated and said to him that I wanted to work it out. And he flipped it. He flipped it, and
I say he flipped it because I saw his video in which he demeans you on that.
He says, "I'm begging.
Yeah.
Look at me begging."
Right. And he just totally flipped it. But you know, American society has always been. You mentioned Cassie, and American society has always been supportive and thought that it was funny. You know, because. I recall watching The Honeymooners, you know, with Jackie Gleason. Pow.
Yeah, right in the kiss.
Yeah, it's like, and the laugh track would come on, and it's like, oh, everyone thought it was funny. And, you know, I'm going like, Alice Cramden, she's involved in a toxic relationship with this guy who had a job that he didn't like, and he had a friend. You know, it was just weird. I mean, but it also is a symbol of what a lot of women go through, and she never said anything back.
Right.
And it was like she was just like, okay, well, whatever, Ralph, and just went on about her business. So now, if we're doing a more than honeymooners, what happens after the cameras went off? So you experienced what happened when the cameras went off.
Yes, I did. And what was hard is because, you know, a lot of people are shocked when I started telling my story, because they're like, well, we thought you were the beautiful black love that you all seem to be. You just seem to be so supportive of him. And a lot of that was me masking what was going on, and a way for me to protect myself, because he was on my social media all day. And so if I posted...
Did he have a job?
He did it. He's a truck driver. So he would drive his truck and be on my social media all day. And he would come home, and I never knew what I was going to get. Either I was celebrating myself, like if I got an award, then, you know, so you got that little award. I mean, he would have to diminish that. So I would have to try to build him up and diminish myself, so that way he wouldn't feel threatened. And so that way I would have peace in the house. And what's funny is a lot of people said that they saw that I was trying to minimize myself. Like he said, he knew who you were. If he was out with me and a man came up to me, or a man that I knew, I made sure I went over to them, took him to them, and introduced who he was.
That's what you did that day. That's exactly what you did.
So, yes. He was really big on that. He was big about it. We were walking somewhere. I couldn't start walking before he started walking. He would go crazy off. I couldn't walk ahead of him a little bit. He would go crazy off. He was proud of the fact that I was at a grocery store. This is the symptom of how bad it got. I was at Walmart, and there was a guy who's in bodybuilding with us. But I got to the point where I stopped making eye contact with men. I would keep my eyes down, because I'm a natural smiler, which would be a threat to him, because why am I smiling in all, as he said, all these ends faces, you in all these ends faces. So I was at the grocery store checking out, and some guy kept calling my name. So I kept looking down. Finally, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, it's me from the gym." He's a professional bodybuilder, a coach. He said, "I'm going to tell Ab, no matter what I said, you didn't even try to look. You didn't turn your head at all." And that's the way I lived. I was always walking on eggshells, not knowing what somebody's going to say, what somebody's going to see, and how he was going to interpret that. And I just was trying to survive.
Well, how did you survive?
Well, I put cameras up around my house, so that way if something happened to me, then there would be video of what happened. And I still have that video, and I kept it as part of my evidence for trial, because this seems like it's never going to end. I just want him to leave me alone. That's it. I don't want anything. I have not gone after him for the fees that the judge awarded to me. I'm not going after him. I think he's a $50,000 judgment against him for personal injuries to me. I don't even want any of that.
$50,000.
Yes, plus attorney's fees. He has a judgment for property damage, plus the restraining order. If I went to court, now, prior to the police report having to be filed because of the harassment that started escalating, my attorneys were wanting to go back to court for a year. I could have gone to court and have him held in contempt and locked up. I didn't do any of that. I just want to be left alone. He wouldn't have had to been arrested on criminal charges if he had only left me alone. But we're here now. He did it, and I'm not where I was before, where I took everything on as my fault and trying to fix it.
So he hasn't contacted you or anything?
He hasn't contacted me since he's been arrested. The police.
When was he arrested?
I think November 6th.
That's pretty recent.
Just recently. It's been peaceful. It's been wonderful.
What about his family? His family say anything?
Well, what my attorneys have shown me is from when he started posting and tagging me on social media. His mother made some comments about how he wasn't raised a certain way, but he has been convicted for assaulting women before. So whether he was raised a certain way or not, sometimes people do things because that's just who they are.
Most people who are not raised a certain way, not most people. I mean, most people don't go around killing people.
Right.
They weren't raised to do that.
Right.
But
right.
And I'm just looking at the comments. Gina has written, and Gina Winter has written and said domestic violence is not funny, and she's absolutely right. What I had earlier stated was not saying that it was, which I didn't, but American society has viewed it as that is funny when someone does something like that, and the Honeymooners, and then this other show that used to come on with the guy that sold shoes. I can't think of his name now.
Al Bundy?
Yes, Al
the
Bundy.
Bundys.
He did the same thing too.
And you know what's sad is, unfortunately,
and I see there's a pattern. It's
yes.
underperforming blue collar workers that are doing this, but that's not what you're not. You're not.
But you know what? Domestic violence affects everybody. I mean, he's a blue collar worker, but there's white collar workers. There's doctors and lawyers who are beating and abusing their spouses and killing them.
We see that in Highland Park.
So this affects everybody. And unfortunately, in our community, for me, it was the added guilt of, if I had called the police and showed them what had happened, showed them the bruises, showed them these things, then I would have been seen as another black woman having a black man locked up.
Yep, and that's another deal too. The color purple, Harpo, you gotta beat her. That deal too, and that's always a reflection upon black women.
Yes,
that black women are doing something wrong in a situation like that.
Right.
When all they're just trying to do is survive. Just survive. Just survive. So, in our closing minutes, what would you want our viewers to see? And obviously, you have survived, and I will survive. That's what you've done.
I'm happy to say that I'm surviving, I'm thriving, I'm still healing. And it's still hard for me to talk about this because before Cheryl was checking with me before I came here to see where I was, and I told her I was in the car sitting because I'm trying to get myself together, because it's still hard to talk about that because I have to go back to where I was, and it's still hard to go back there. But I know that me speaking helps others, and the reason I know is because women have come and have told me, even at my courthouse, the clerks, a lot of clerks have said, what they've gone through and how it inspires them to know that I am willing to talk about what I've gone through and that they're sharing it and other women are sharing it. And it's important for us to have these conversations because until we can get rid of the shame and the embarrassment, these things are going to continue to happen because we're going to protect the perpetrators and further victimize the victims by making it seem like it's something they did. That's something that they should be ashamed of, that they failed in some way, that I failed some way as a wife, that I failed some way as a woman, versus he has some issues that he has never dealt with since his first conviction and still is going to continue these patterns. And I am healing. I'm still going through my therapy. I'm still working on myself to make sure that I can be a better example for my child, a better example for myself, and then talking to the people who come in front of me. As I'm telling you about these things, I talk to them so that they can understand that I'm not just sitting up here as a judge looking down on them and not understanding. I can't walk into their shoes because their story is different, but we have some similarities in the way, the methodology, what happens to keep you stuck in those situations.
All right. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for allowing me to tell this again.
And when I said the champ is here, the champ is right there.
Oh, thank you.
That's you.
Thank you. I'm still working through this.
You got it.
Thank you.
Well, all right. You've been listening to Ed Gray, Dr. Ed Gray. I've been told to say that a lot, so
yes,
I might as well say it.
Yes.
Dr. Ed Gray, the Commish Radio Show, loved by many, hated by few, respected by all, second to none. And you've been listening to our show on domestic violence. I said before, domestic violence is not a 1 month event in which we just go ahead and talk about it for 1 month. So that's the reason why we wanted to have it this month as well, so we can keep putting it on your mind. So that we want to make sure that you share it, continue to go ahead and talk about it, because domestic violence affects us all. As we were just talking about it in this interview, well, it's affected us all, and we need to end it. And it has to be more than just us saying we need to end it. All right, we'll see you guys back next week. Peace. We're out. Play some drops and we're out. Thibodeau's. We end with that one. Long dramatic pause. What are they hearing?
Hi, my name is Gail Todd with Townview Realtors. If you find yourself in the market to buy, sell, lease, or maybe you want to be a part of this hot real estate market by investing, just give my team of professionals and I a call at 214-675-9572. Again, that's 214-675-9572. Or you can email me at gtodd88@yahoo.com. With me, it's all about you.
Hey, whenever I want good Cajun food, I go to Thibodeau's, located at 107 North Cedar Ridge in Duncanville, Texas. They're really hot, just like the Commish Radio Show in Thibodeau's. Hot as this gumbo. We will see you later at Thibodeau's.